We've got 3 programmatic experts, all looking at different verticals and how programmatic works with these different verticals. But to kick us off, we've got Caspar, who is the CEO of Xaxis, to give us an overview of programmatic and where we are in 2016. Caspar.
I'm not sure how closely I'm going to actually match that brief. But first of all, I just want to say thank you for being here. I've been talking to people over the last couple of days, and it seemed like everyone was leaving on flights sort of at 3 o'clock, so I'm very impressed with the turnout. The topic I was given was sort of state of programmatic. And I sort of thought about what I would do with that. I thought, okay, I could start with a whole bunch of numbers and talk about what percentage of spend is on programmatic and all that kind of stuff, but that's so boring. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to sort of spend a little bit of time just sort of reflecting and thinking about where I think we are with programmatic. And I've sort of agonized over the subject for my talk, and I decided that it was going to be titled "We Need to Talk," because I think we need to talk. Why do we need to talk? So I was in a meeting recently with one of our clients. It was actually one of those, it was a fantastic meeting. It was 4 hours, just about programmatic in a roundtable format. Very senior client leadership team from one of our Group M clients. The great and the good of WPP, their creative agency, people from Google, people from Facebook were there to talk about programmatic. And we talked about programmatic and its various benefits and what it was doing. And at the end of this 4-hour session, the CMO of this company, who hadn't said anything, looked up and said, "Thank you, this is very interesting, but how is this good for my customers?" And we all sort of looked at each other and went, "Oh gosh, we didn't listen to a word." You know, so we went, well, it's more targeted, it's less waste, it's more engaging, it's more sort of, you know, it's less annoying. She goes, no. I understand how it makes me a slightly less annoying advertiser. I get that. But surely this industry doesn't just exist, and all the money you've spent doesn't just exist, so I can be a slightly less annoying advertiser. What I want to know is, how does this make me a better marketer? And I think that is actually the pertinent question. So when I think about where we are with programmatic now, I don't think about, you know, are we being slightly less annoying as advertisers, but are we actually helping marketers be better marketers? So that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. So first of all, you know, we sort of talk about this concept of programmatic being 100% of the media plan. And I think that sort of, whether or not it will or won't be 100% of the media plan sort of depends a little bit on how you define programmatic. And there's a sort of, seems to be this ambition which is actually tied to those statistics that I said before, which is that if you aren't doing enough programmatic, you're somehow getting it wrong. That somehow, you know, you need to strive for 100% programmatic media investment, otherwise you're somehow missing the point. And I think the answer there really, whether or not that's true, really depends on how you define programmatic. So I think we're going from a world where we used to have a very simple media plan with publisher 1, publisher 2, publisher 3, etc. Right? All bought using a fax machine, faxing an I/O into a publisher. You know, the world I think we're going to is a world that looks a bit more like this. Right? A placement plan where we still want to invest money with certain publishers. You know, we still have brands who want to make sure that their ads and their messages are showing up being aligned with certain publisher brand properties. But at the bottom of that plan, there's a data plan, which is more about the types of data that we're trying to target. Now, why does this matter? It matters because if you define programmatic as a replacement for a fax machine, now if you define programmatic as a workflow, as a process tool in the agency, then yes, programmatic will probably be 100%, right? Because there is no doubt that we will be, the mechanism of making the purchase, of buying the media at the top of the plan will be programmatic. If you define programmatic as an algorithm, so it's replacement of fax machine. If you define programmatic as an algorithm, on the other hand, right, basically a machine making a decision about whether or not to show an ad, then that machine needs to make that decision based on something which is data. So if you define programmatic as that, basically executing against a data opportunity, using data to make a decision about whether or not to show an ad, whether that's weather, or you're in front of a certain demographic target, or whatever it might be, if you're using data, then programmatic is not going to be 100% of the media plan. And why does this matter? It matters for all sorts of reasons. One of the reasons it matters is this chart, which was put up at the IAB last week, and this sort of chart drives me absolutely crazy. And it's one of the things which is so wrong about how we all approach the role of technology and programmatic in media today. And it's tied to something which I've heard a lot at this conference as well, which is, I don't know if my $1 that I'm giving my agency is going to the media owner. I don't know if I expect my $1 to go $1 to the media owner, everything else is waste or somehow is a tax. If you look at the top half of that plan I talked about, the placement, then that may well be true. If you're using programmatic purely as a workflow for the agency to buy and sell, then that's true. You do not want too much technology on top of that because you know where you want your money to go. But if you're using programmatic as a way to execute a data strategy, then this is not a tax, right? This is value. All the things which are listed up on there are value. They're valuable in terms of making sure that when you're executing against that data point, you're doing so in a brand safe way, in a relevant way, in a contextual way, in a targeted way, that you're using data and technology to their full. This is not a tax. This is the price of doing that well. So that's my first point. Number two, the year of the mobile, right? I'm actually delighted that I have not heard anyone talk about the year of the mobile at this conference, which is great, because it's probably the first time no one's actually mentioned it. But we sort of again think about programmatic and how and mobile spend and how mobile is going to come to the rescue of programmatic and how important programmatic technology is going to be to finally sort of resolve this conundrum. This is Mary Meeker's famous chart that she puts up every year in her big analysis, where she sort of points to the difference between time spent and money spent in mobile, shades it in and points at it with a big arrow and says, this is how much money you should be spending on mobile, right? Like we're doing something wrong, like we're sort of somehow missing the point or somehow, misunderstanding the way that our customers and our consumers are engaging with mobiles. I think this is one of the most dangerous charts in our industry because it implies exactly that we're somehow missing something, we're somehow getting something wrong. And just to sort of illustrate that, I want to show you a video. Many of you will have seen this video. It's from 2014. It's the winner, one of the winning entries in Cannes. Right, so let's make this a bit interactive. Who here thinks that was a mobile-centric, mobile campaign? Seriously? Come on, put up your hands if you think that was a mobile campaign, right? Where was the media spend, right? How much of the media spend on that was mobile? Probably very little, right? It was 100% print spend, right? But I don't think it won the mobile category. So you've got a marketer there who obviously understands the role that mobile plays for their customers. And it's not about using programmatic to buy tiny little ads, right? It's about using mobile as an engagement platform. That campaign is 100% mobile with 0% mobile spend. So what's my point? My point is we have to think about, again, much more holistically about the role that programmatic plays. It's not always about programmatic, right? And again, exactly the same example for TV. We're talking a lot about, and again at this conference, about, well, the future of programmatic is in TV, and the future of TV is in programmatic with addressable TV. And there is no doubt that we will start to buy TV programmatically. Right? Again, thinking of the top half of the media plan. How much TV we're going to buy on a sort of a data plan basis at the bottom of the plan, I think is still very far away. Right? I think the complexity of executing a data-centric, programmatically executed media plan, a media buy, as like I said, at the bottom of the plan, on linear TV is a long way away. Especially when you think about the fact that in digital, all of the basic building blocks of digital are pretty much the same in every country. We all have third-party ad serving. We all have, websites are broadly the same. The ad formats are broadly the same. In TV, there are so many different players. There are completely different regulatory environments. It's a much, much more complex ecosystem where, if we solve this problem in America or create an opportunity in America, it's probably not going to work in France, for example. Does that mean we ignore TV? No, of course not. Of course not. There are fantastic opportunities now to use the data that we're using in TV also to execute programmatic campaigns elsewhere on the web. Right? So, for example, we have a product at Xaxis called Light TV where we've worked with panel data to understand the interest and demographic profile of light TV viewers, and then we've modeled those out in our own data platform, and we're able to target TV ads specifically at only light or heavy TV viewers. So taking TV data, integrating that as a TV channel for our TV buyers, but not actually executing it on TVs. The last thing I want to talk about is ad blocking. The reason I want to talk about ad blocking is actually because the sort of funny irony is, if you go back to my story at the beginning about that marketer, how does all this stuff make me a better marketer, not just a slightly less annoying advertiser? It's actually exactly the same problem. Right? If we had actually thought about helping our marketers become better marketers, not just slightly annoying advertisers, if we had that as at front of mind every time we deployed programmatic technology, then we would not have as much of an ad blocking problem now, because by being a better marketer, by definition, those marketers are creating something that the people they're marketing to are interested in, that they want to see, that they want to engage with. So it's actually exactly the same problem, just on two different sides. And if there's one thing that breaks my heart about where we are right now with the programmatic space, is the fact that we have not engaged with the creative space. We have the most unbelievable technology. We have the ability to deploy that technology and that data across media, and we do it every single day. And we were judging the awards, and there's some really interesting examples of how programmatic is being used in a very data-centric way. But we're not involving the creative agencies. The creative agencies, people who are building the creative we do, have no idea what's actually really possible. And so, this is a huge missed opportunity still. And I think if we as an industry are going to solve the problem for our clients of being better marketers, and if we're going to solve the problem of consumers of avoiding ad blocking, we're going to have to start thinking much more holistically about the role that programmatic plays in marketing, not just in media placements. A quick plug, anyone who wants to come, we're doing an event in Cannes about this, where we've got sort of a bunch of different panels, and Sir Martin speaking and various others about this space. So if you want to come along, find me on LinkedIn, drop me a note, and we'll send you an invitation. So just in closing, I've sort of picked on a couple of topics where I think we are with programmatic. But if there's sort of one overarching theme from my point of view, it's that we have to stop thinking about programmatic in such a very specific media way. We have to start thinking about it more holistically. We have to start engaging much more broadly about the possibilities of programmatic, and start thinking about the benefits for marketers, start thinking about how we can use this to be more engaging, more interesting, more relevant for customers and for marketers, not just slightly less annoying in our advertising. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Caspar. Well, next up, we're going to delve into programmatic and TV. So to help us do that, we've got Mike Shehan, who is the CEO of SpotX.
Thank you. Wow, that is really tough to follow up on. There's not enough O's in smooth with Caspar. So I'm focused on programmatic video, right? That's what I'm going to talk about today. And I was originally charged with talking about is programmatic related to video problematic or is it the solution? And I think that hits right at the heart of what Caspar was talking about, what a lot of people are talking about, where programmatic, it's kind of misunderstood, and I'm here to hopefully help redefine it. But first, I'm going to just say a little bit about me. Who am I, right? Well, this picture right here just proves that I have spoken in front of audiences, right? I've been in the industry for about 20 years, e-commerce, pay-per-click search, video. I've got I love my kids, my wife, I live in Colorado, and things I hate, well, who doesn't hate their competitors? I hate walled gardens. Of course, if I owned a walled garden, I wouldn't hate it. And I hate being over 40. And I hate you if you're over 40 and you don't have slowing metabolism. Anyway, why am I talking about video? What's my level of expertise? I've started a company called SpotX. SpotX, we started around 2007. We do a lot of transactions every single day. We're located all over the world. We've got about 300 publishers. You really think of us as a video monetization platform, kind of a combo of a video ad server and an SSP. To be like Donald Trump, we've got many beautiful, wonderful publishers out there at the bottom of the line there. So when I started the company, this is how people were buying and selling, actually. Back in 05, 06, 07, we're talking about, in the US, a $200 million industry. And there was no scale. In fact, how campaigns were executed, where they were physically taking the video ad and they were attaching it to the video itself, and then you get a spreadsheet and say, how many impressions did I get? Obviously not scalable, zero accountability, zero targeting, etc. System evolved a little bit, and everybody recognizes this slide probably. I won't bore you too much with this, but just to look at the history of kind of how do we get here and where do we come from? Well, this is how it started, right? We've got agencies, media agencies using video ad servers, and on the supply side, those video ad servers working with the suppliers, publishers out there. Again, still not a lot of scale, doing individual deals with the agencies. How do you get scale? Well, then we had the video ad networks come around and the exchanges. Right? The video ad networks would allow you to get scale. However, the publishers having a tough time managing all these video ad networks and the VPaid opt-outs, etc. You basically had to use a video SSP to manage all of your non-guaranteed inventory. But the agencies and the video ad servers would tap into those exchanges, etc. Of course, you had this evolution, right, towards DSPs. And then the agency trading desks were created. And then the use of data to support the targeting. And so on and so forth. It got complex. It got really complex. You got these data management platforms, measurement, analytics, different OVPs, ad creation, the list goes on, right? Madness. And of course, there is the new normal. And the new normal is cross-stream campaigns to make it even more difficult. So, we've all experienced it. You have your agencies, you have the supply side. If you, as a company, did not have programmatic, a lot of this would be impossible at scale. In the US, video advertising now is a $10 billion market. Programmatic is really enabling that. And again, redefining it. If we just want to look at programmatic as a transactional layer, I think that's really the wrong way to look at it. Programmatic is really the connective tissue of all of these different companies, enabling all of these companies to work together, allowing the buy side to do what they want to do, which is to achieve more efficient campaigns, more targeted campaigns, leveraging their first and third party data, being able to measure that with multitudes of vendors like Moat, Double Verify, etc. And then on the supply side, again, you could go bonkers. You could spend all the money in the world to be able to support all of the buy side needs. Programmatic really, at the end of the day, is the solution. So this is why, and I'm boring you with some charts here, but some numbers. But this is an IHS study that we released just recently. Just saying that by 2020, that programmatic will reach 51%, over 50%. Now, I think, again, what we're looking at is defining programmatic as a transaction. If we broaden that, actually, it would be much, much greater than that. Back to your 100%. So if we look again at the evolution of where we came from and where we are today, it's actually really interesting, and what I love to see is where we did start is really kind of remnant. What did we do? We enabled remnant inventory to be bought. That's where programmatic was relegated. Fortunately, I don't think that is really what everybody associates programmatic now with. And that took a lot of years to get over. What we're seeing is actually premium publishers execute these campaigns in private marketplaces directly with buyers. I think that's a good trend. The third thing we're seeing is actually this buyer and seller are now interacting with each other, and they're doing these deals directly with each other, and they're doing guaranteed deals. But again, they're using the programmatic backbone to enable that. And the reason why they can now get back to where we were in 2007, but to do it in scale, is because of programmatic. Here's a good example. RTL, which we got an investment in back about a year and a half ago. This is RTL Netherlands. This is essentially catch-up TV, but online, digitally, mobile, as well as desktop. So the Dutch, being who they are, fairly progressive on trading, they said, listen, we have all this inventory, and yes, we're sold out, but we're going to move to a private marketplace. We're actually going to create a private marketplace. We're going to work directly with the brands, the agencies. We're going to allow them to bid on it. But what we're going to do is actually say, it costs more. If you are saying this is more valuable when you can pick and choose the inventory based on your first, third-party data, whatever data you have, that you can optimize in real time based on performance, sure, but you're going to pay a little more. And so they're paying about 25% more, and within the second month, they were auctioning off 12% of the overall inventory. Inventory that was before completely sold out. All right, so how does this apply to TV? We've all seen it. Programmatic TV is already here, right? Or programmatic TV will never happen. Depends on who you're talking to. So it is a complicated space, and I want to put it in the same paradigm as we just went through with digital. Right? Okay, how are we watching TV? I think the US broadcasters are very jealous looking at markets like Germany, et cetera, where they're seeing that people are still watching live TV in those markets. And actually what's happening is in the US, less and less people are watching TV. So just around 60-65% watch live TV. All these other forms, on-demand, streaming, recorded on a TV, streaming on CTV, and other, those represent actually pretty interesting opportunities, as I'll get to on the advertising side. All right, so I don't think this is shocking, right? How are they going to be consuming TV? I don't really care about the timeline. I don't care that it's 2020 when we're reaching out and looking out when smart TVs or gaming consoles or streaming boxes, Blu-ray players are IP enabled. All of this is IP enabled, right? IP enablement really fosters what we just saw in the digital realm. So I'll give you an example. Xfinity. Xfinity is our cable service in the US, right? Before you would get, and you still do, get a cable box, you rent that cable box, and you get your programming into it. Now, Comcast came out with an interactive version of that, almost like a gaming console, an IP-based device. Anything that's actually served on that Xfinity box is IP enabled, meaning it can be targeted, dynamically targeted. What they just announced, and this was pretty quiet, they actually enabled people to get Xfinity just via an app. You don't even need the set-top box. It's going to ship with Samsung. Right? That is the speed at which we're moving here. And if you look at the ad revenues, here's a chart. Of course, we're growing in the global TV ad revenue, right? That's your chart of, okay, this is your non-dynamic inventory. This is what's going to be stable. This is how we're targeting, like we have always. But then you have this big chunk of revenue over here to the right that is addressable. So why does that matter? Well, here's what we saw before, eyesore. But this is what we're talking about, is a growing portion of the market being digital. Everything, and once that happens, you can talk about a $10 billion market and start adding zeros after that. All right, so this is OTT, this is your carriers, IP-enabled set-top boxes. Again, is this going to happen in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? It doesn't matter. It is happening for sure. And why is this important? Because the complexities that we saw in the digital space actually apply to the TV space, right? just because it's becoming more addressable, just like digital did. Just because you can apply more data on the targeting side and measurement, which is already happening in broadcast. And most complicated of all, reaching audience not just across screen, hitting it. Okay, that may go away. It's actually being able to manage audiences across digital and linear. Huge challenge, 2 different currencies. How does a media owner do that? Again, at the end, how does a buyer do that? At the end of the day, programmatic is really going to be the solution that helps all of these companies do this because, by the way, it's happening. And your audiences, as a media owner, will migrate from linear to digital. And as that happens, you have to be prepared to be able to manage that and manage those audiences and be able to guarantee to the buyer that we're going to deliver the audience that we're saying we're going to deliver. And hopefully what Programmatic's doing really is allowing us to achieve a level where marketers are spending and suppliers are spending less time managing the nuts and bolts, the Excel spreadsheet, the targeting, et cetera, and actually more focused on the creative, delivering something better to the consumer. So that's all I got today. I want to thank everybody for listening to me, and there's my
Thank you very much, Mike. And our final speaker, who's going to take us through a journey of programmatic and native, is Avichai Belitsky, from the VP for Inneractive.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for speaking about programmatic. Now, take a breath, and we'll do the next step and speak about programmatic native. So, good afternoon, all. I'm very excited to be here. I'm a VP at Inneractive. Inneractive is a mobile ad exchange focused on video and native. And if you still need a clue what is native, so here you go. So last year everybody was speaking about programmatic and what is native and the different definitions of native. Today I want to speak about actually who is switching to native, who is yet to do it, and why. So it's not a top secret that everybody today is mobile. We can see 50% of YouTube are mobile, 80% of Facebook users are mobile, 90% of Twitter are mobile, and 100 of Snapchat users, of course, are mobile. So by 2020, 76% of all advertising revenue will be mobile at $84.5 billion. And by 2020, 63% of all mobile display advertising will be native, which will be $53.4 billion. 4 out of 5 mobile users consider traditional ads as unacceptable. Well, this is a strong statement to say that 80% of our users don't like traditional mobile ads. And this statement is related only to mobile, and we need to address it. Did you ask yourself why, actually? There could be many answers about this, but the one I really like is that in desktop, users are can much more shift with their mouse between tabs and therefore dominate their navigation. But in mobile, when users are tapping and scrolling their small screen, so they are much more captured by the platform and therefore are much less tolerant to any disturbance. And if we're looking at the click-through rate of native desktop versus native mobile, we can see that mobile is 6 times higher than desktop. And there could be a few reasons for this. First of all, the user uses each different app for each different purpose, and he is much more concentrated in his mobile. And of course, in-app feed environment is much more natural for the format, and also smaller screen keeps the user much more focused. So what are we going to do with all these banners, interstitials, free rolls, all these money generators we so much fell in love with? So today, we all understand that we need to balance between the user experience and monetization. I never understood why this guy is suffering so much. So we won't have time to go over all the 6 definitions of the IAB, but yes, it's very important to say that there are 3 common denominators for serving a successful native ads. First of all, location. The ad is placed within content. First, design. The ad is formatted within content. And value. The ad has relevant content. So today we all understand that the user is looking for value to click on. And it's not enough to serve an ad with a location and design. And we need to remember that today, the user is the one who is defining the standard of the ecosystem. And this is something we need to consider when we are serving the ads. So let's talk about value. Sorry. Perhaps if the publishers need and want to grant value to the users, maybe they need to invest more in content marketing versus native advertising. Let's have a quick check here. How many advertisers do we have here? Publishers? Okay. Data companies? Okay. So, when we're speaking about the difference between content marketing and native advertising, we really understand that content marketing is much more like a chef's restaurant, and native advertising is much more a chain restaurant. And in this case, chain restaurants is programmatic. So if we're looking at this chart, we can see that in the one hand, customization is more toward content marketing is more towards customization, and of course, native programmatic is the side of the scale. And if I can ask the publishers here, so how many actually new articles, native articles, content marketing can you produce in one entire week? So assume it will be more customized, and then therefore the other side is programmatic. So while we actually know today that the walled garden partners, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, are switching their environment at scale to native, and we also know that the other publishers are also switching their environment, and we can see it all over with our clients, also in China and all over. So it's happening. But let's be honest. When Marty McFly and Doug Brown were looking into the future of 2015, which is already the past, they didn't realize they will see so many banners and interstitials and all this stuff. So probably there is a challenge. Let's try to figure out what is the challenge. But first of all, we have to understand that the publishers are much more sensitive for the user experience, and therefore, this ad unit is a publisher-driven unit, and the advertisers are following up just behind them. And more of that, everybody's speaking about native, but just a minority of advertisers really allocating substantial amount of budgets into native. And the market is really confronting a slow adoption process to native. And yes, not only they need to switch their environment, their ads into native, they also need to afford higher prices that the publishers are requiring. And this is very reasonable. So what is really the difference between the walled garden players and the other publishers? So in one word, of course, it is data. And yes, we can see that the advertisers are really having a hard time quantifying the value of the new ad unit and the value of the new price. And we can see it in our platforms that when we have the data, like location-based advertisement, for instance, and it can be very accurate, so we can see that the prices, the eCPMs, can be 60 or 70% higher with the data. So probably this is one of the main differences. And of course, There is a limited infrastructure and technology. This is a process. This is an evolution. This is something that is showing up. And for sure, this is something that will be solved. And let's speak about standardization. So we all know OpenRTB 2.2 worked for fixed-size banners and video. OpenRTB 2.3 and native 1.0 set a standard for native ads, can be bought and sold by a real-time auction. And OpenRTB 2.4 and native 1.1 actually introduced specificity and structure to programmatic native. So we spoke about the challenges about native and where is the market today. And now, with your permission, let me serve you a verbal native ad and introduce you an interactive solution for programmatic native. So, of course, we are supporting all feed types in article, news, products, social, everything. It is available for desktop, for display and video, and of course, it is adjustable with the size, with the ad placement, with everything that the publisher wants, of course, to design. And we are following all the attributes of the IAB, the icon, the title, the ad disclaimer, the call to action, and of course, the image. So now let me check up myself and see if I followed the 3 common denominators I spoke about. So we spoke about location. So of course, this is the best place to speak about native. I spoke about design. So I assume you're convinced that our design is really impressive. And when we're speaking about value, so guys, you need to be integrated to our platform to really understand the value. Thank you very much and good afternoon.